Hello everybody, hope you're doing well and welcome back to another video. This is my April wrap up. April was quite a good month, to be honest. Quite a few high ratings, and yeah, I read 8 books. I had 1 DNF, and on my spreadsheet it comes out to 1,743 pages. That isn't much less because one of the books I read is one I started a lot longer, but I only finished it in that month. But still, I think it was quite a good amount of pages, and 4.5 hours of audiobook listening. And yeah, I just thought I would go through all the books, give a little review. Will it be short? Maybe. I read all of them physically apart from my 1 DNF, which is an audiobook, which I'll tell you about when I come to it. I wanted to film it when I was at home and actually held the books up, but I didn't have time. I'm back in Birmingham now, but I'll just put the pictures there. But I did read them physically, which is kind of annoying because you want to hold it and show things and stuff. But beside the point, I started the month off with The End of Eddie by Edouard Louis. This is translated from French by Michael Lucy. And this I'm probably going to give around a 4.5 star rating to. It's really good. It's harrowing. It is a very sad book. But it is very well written, well told. Some parts are relatable, and it's written in a way that you feel for him and you feel upset and sympathetic, but it's not written in a pity me sort of way, which I felt is quite difficult to do, especially when dealing with the topics he does. But it's sort of an auto-fiction book following Eddie, and he is it's mostly from his childhood, and his coming to terms with his sexuality, being gay, and also quite bad poverty in this small sort of impoverished industrial town in the north of France, and him dealing with this cultural violence and the way bullying and his parents and father and stuff is you have to be this certain sort of way or you're not a man, and him just trying to come to terms with this, I guess, and trying to get out of this situation. And yeah, I just thought it was very well told, and yeah, like I said before, you feel for him so much. And I just would definitely want to read more by Louis, his autofiction works, and yeah, I would recommend it. I don't have that much to say. Probably when I do a full review written down and stuff, there will be more, but that was that. Then I finished Like People in History by Felice Bacano. This is the one I started in June 2024. I read quite a lot of it then, and then also in December, and then January, and then I had about another 100 pages. But this is sort of an epic. It's following Roger Sansarp and his brother Alistair Dodge, and it's different. It's sort of backtracks. It's set sometime in the 90s, and then also goes back to when they first met as children in the 50s, and then sort of the decades leading up, and it just explores sort of the change in queer life in America, and different things about the AIDS crisis and ACT UP movement, sort of the beaches in San Francisco, and sort of the Fire Island Pines, and New York, and publishing, and just a lot of things. It is an epic, I would say. It is very, very long. It's quite dragged out. It's very slow paced, but at the same time you do sort of have to do so if you do want to try and encapsulate as much as Bacano was trying to do in this book. And it's sort of from a first-hand experience way, because he lived through all these decades and the changing queer American lifestyles. But yeah, I would recommend it. It sort of follows the 2 cousins' tumultuous relationship, and the ups and downs, and their friendship and other relationships they had, especially the Rogers with this enigmatic artist Matt Longudice, and his personal struggles as well, and his being a poet and being loved by everyone, and yeah, I just feel it was done well, but I feel it's probably it's quite a good one, I guess, to spread over a while, but I would have liked to have tried to have read more of it in like the space of, I guess, 2 months instead of how long I did take. But yeah, I would recommend this, probably around a 4 or 4.25 star rating, and I would like to read more by him. Then we have probably the worst of the month, and that is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. This recently won the Booker Prize, and I mean, I haven't read other ones yet. I would like to read some more, but I didn't particularly like this. I think it's only like quite short, but it did drag quite a bit. It is following these characters that are on like a spaceship, sort of like the International Space Station thing that like orbits around the Earth, and it follows them on like one day, which is like 16 orbits. And one of them finds out that her mother had died whilst on Earth, and then there was like some really good conversations between the characters about like life and where they are, and like our relationship with the Earth and with space, and sort of the desire to spread out, and about like creation and like religion in some sense, and a few different topics and things like that. And like our like governmentship and ownership of the Earth and trying to protect it. But I would say there could have been quite a bit more, and also some like exploration of like space travel and the like huge differences between people like kind of go to space and then just like the everyday person, and also like people that are like living in sort of like extreme poverty scenario situations. I feel like it could have done quite a bit more of that, and also sort of like the climate crisis and issues with protection of the Earth. So yeah, there are some good parts, but I would say quite a lot of the book is just filled up with like descriptions of what they're seeing, and it's just very, very repetitive. Like, here comes China, here comes Japan, here comes South America, and like the Cape of South Africa, and all different things like that. Like the first like 5 times it's nice, it's well written and it's like descriptive, but then it just gets quite monotonous and it's just like too much. I'm just like, I don't really care about that. I want to learn about the characters and their interactions and talking with each other. Like, some like really good bits where they're talking about like candies from their childhood and stuff. But yeah, I feel like it was a bit too much focused on what they're seeing instead of what they're saying and thinking. That quite brought it down to probably around 2.5 stars. Then I read Night Sky of Exotic Wounds by Ocean Vuong. This is the first poetry collection. It's one of my 25 or 2025. This I'm probably going to give 2.5 or 2.75 stars to. I loved On Ever Briefly Gorgeous, second favourite book of last year. Amazing. I love the writing and the poetic nature of it, and just like the way it's written is just so beautiful. So I wanted to read his poetry. However, I felt like maybe it's just me, I'm not as well versed to fully understand what he's talking about in this, but it sort of deals with like his like family and like the Vietnam War and like coming to America and things like that, but I couldn't really fully get to grips with what he's trying to say and understand them. So I'm like keeping it. I do want to give it a reread, and hopefully I can be a bit more like take my time with it, maybe just trying to understand what he's actually talking about. But from the initial one, I didn't particularly like it, which is quite a big shame because I really wanted to love this book. Then I read The Best of the Month, which is Prima Facie by Susie Miller. This is a play. It's like a one-woman play, and it follows this barrister called Tessa, and she is like so good at her job. She always gets successes, and she is quite often the one that is like defending the person being accused, and she gets quite a few like sexual assault cases, and she is like very nitpicking. She's like, I have to have all evidence and like 100%, and like there's no room for doubt, and she has like quite a reputation for being quite like, not harsh per se, but just like very, very good at her job and like getting like people that should be put in prison free. But at the end of the day, it is her job, so it's what she has to do. That's sort of like the first part, exploring that, and I do think that was like very good. But then also in the second half, she has her own sexual assault, and it's her trying to find like the evidence and like what to do, and her like own sort of like case and like hearing and stuff. And I do think it like is so well done, and like showing the injustice, I guess, within the political system, about how we like trial and convict people accused of sexual assault, and how it isn't really like a normal crime, and like there is like differences that need to be addressed within like the sentencing. And yeah, I just think it was a very, very good exploration. I would love to give it a reread. There was like a full-length novelization of the play, which I think might be quite good to read, just to get a bit more like understanding in-depth nature of the characters and stuff. But it is really good at what it does do, and I would so recommend giving this a book a read. Then I read another 25 of 2025, Love in the Big City by Sang-Yong Park, translated from Korean by Anton He. Again, I did enjoy this book. I think probably a 4.25 or 4.5 star rating. This is basically following Young, and he lives in Seoul, and he is like a gay man, and there's like, it's split into different chapters that like deal with like different sort of like relationship, I guess, he's had. The first, which is on the back cover in the description, is with Jae-hee, which is a female like classmate, and then they start living together like as like flatmates, and their relationship with each other, and sort of like going out drinking and like talking about boys and stuff, and then she like gets married, and they're sort of like changes their dynamic in a sense. And then other ones is like with like his mother, and then also different relationships like he's had like with other men, I guess. Yeah, and it just sort of explores sort of queer soul, and the place of gay people in Korea, and like some like unacceptance from his mother, and like her own problems, and just like his life in a sense, is make this character. I did think it was good. It definitely was like insightful, and like it's very well written, and you get a clear sense of who he is and the other characters as well. But it was maybe a little misleading, I would say, is on the description it's like very heavily about his friendship with Jae-hee, but that's only in like the first chapter, and you only like get to see her a little bit later on. So I feel like I wanted maybe a bit more of that from what I was expecting. However, that being said, it is still good, and one I would recommend. But yeah, I probably need to think more about it to fully review, but would recommend. Then I had my DNF, which was We Will Prescribe You a Cat by Seo Ishida. It is translated from Japanese by Emi Madison Shimoda. I finished like DNF'd it around 60-ish%. This is basically following these characters that come to this like place, and they tell them their like problems and stuff, like be it like mental or like mostly mental health problems, I guess, or like depression situations, and thinking back and like things from their past and stuff, and then they get prescribed a cat to like help them, and they sort of like change like a part of their life and start making them feel happy again. And it's sort of like that's sort of like the same thing really, but I just didn't really feel the need to continue it. It was good. It wasn't like a bad book by any means. I just didn't really care too much. I sort of really got the gist of what he was trying to do from the first like 2.5 stories. Well, no, I think I finished 3 actually, and I just didn't really want to read anymore. But I would recommend it, I guess. I just didn't, like I said, feel the need to continue, so I DNF'd it, which I want to try and do more of. And then I read The Woman Destroyed by Simone de Beauvoir. She's translated from French by Patrick O'Brien. This I'm probably going to give maybe like 3.5 or 3.75 stars to. It's a it's like a novella, which is The Woman Destroyed, and there's also the 2 short stories, Age of Discretion, I think, and then the monologue. The first one is about a woman whose like son has like changes like political views, and she thinks he's being influenced by his like modern sort of enigmatic like wife. And she sort of like tries to like break contact with him, and it also follows her like relationship with her husband, and them sort of like feeling like old in a way in the time it's set. And then there's the monologue, which follows a woman whose husband has like left her and sort of has taken their son, and she is just sort of like talking, I guess, to the main character or the reader about this situation she's in and what she can try and do to get out of it, or like to get her son back. I think it's her son, or maybe it's her daughter, I'm not sure, but she's a bit of like a bitchy character. I think this is the one that it's kind of hard to follow like what's going on, because it's just like all words, and it sort of like rolls off quite a lot. And then the final one, The Woman Destroyed, which is like diary entries from a woman who finds out her husband has been having an affair, and it sort of explores like the place of women and like the things that the freedoms and stuff that are afforded to men, and what women have to put up with in a sense, and them trying to see if like they can reconcile with this affair and move on from it, or like not, in a way. And yeah, I think it's quite good at like showing the lives of women that you don't really see that much in literature because they are older in their life, but I did maybe expect a little bit more from it, and I also think that some of the way it was written, maybe the translation was a bit clunky and hard to like fully grasp what is fully going on. But on the whole, it was decent and I would recommend it, but it wasn't my favourite de Beauvoir, but I will read her again. And then finally we have Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. This I'm probably going to give 3.5 as well. This is like short stories. Some were very, very, very good, and then a few ones that were like meh and brought it down. But they just like follow, like they're kind of weird stories. They're like magical realism in it, like a bit of horror, a bit like thriller, a bit like romance, a bit comedy. Yeah, and there's also quite a lot of like queerness as well. Like many of the characters are queer themselves, like queer women, or like there's queerness in it. I think my favourites was The Husband, Stitch and Mothers. And then there was also one that I think that watered down quite a bit, which I think it was quite clever. I think it's called like I can't remember, but it's like summaries of Law and Order episodes, and in those she like talks about sort of like what goes on, and they're sort of like sexual assault cases and like crimes like that. But she uses the characters like sort of tell like a story, and like it's like ghosts and sort of weird stuff goes on in it. And I did think it was clever how she was able to do this in the frame of summaries of episodes of a show, and then that combined with the one previously, Mothers, which I thought was quite good, about a woman that's sort of trying to bring up a child in a lesbian abusive relationship. And they sort of led into, in some ways, her memoir In a Dream House, which I read last year, which was amazing, 5-star, incredible book. And I could see some of the like parallels between those and some of the other like themes and stories as well. But yeah, I would recommend giving it a read, but it wasn't like a favourite of mine, which is a little bit of a shame because these are ones that was on my 2025 list. But yeah, that was my wrap up. I hope I was coherent. I can't remember. And you enjoyed it. And yeah, I shall see you soon for some more videos. Have a nice morning, even though we're in the world. Bye.